What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is Epi, and I have an interview for you guys. I know most of you are hanging out right now, probably in the post TI blues. If there's any players listening right now, hope you are doing fine. I hope that you enjoy this very special interview with me. I have Pitner, Bone7, Armand. It's been a
Hey,
while since we talked. How are you doing? Thanks for coming on.
yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing fine.
You used to play on Cloud9 up to the end of 2015, I believe.
Yes.
And you've just like the past year you've been playing with KP. And how has that been going for you? How has KP been?
Well, it's been a sort of experiment of mine. After TA 5 ended,
Hmm.
I was a bit depressed. I was very stressed. Like I didn't feel good about my health and everything. It's just like I just didn't feel good. So I kind of tried. I kind of wanted to take like a kind of a break from like the real competitive aspect. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not exactly competitive, but just I wanted to take a break for sure from traveling at least.
Traveling.
So I was just hoping maybe I can make my own team and like maybe I can build something in maybe 6 months and then, have something. That definitely didn't work out. I failed on that.
Okay, but I
I
mean, is it so? If I understand correctly, when it all kind of when TI5 was over, you just had the need to kind of see and try for yourself if you could make something happen with your own team. And what was the impulse behind that?
mainly I was just stressed out. I didn't wanna. I don't know. I tried to do my own thing because I knew it wouldn't work out like instantly. So like I wouldn't have to worry that much about like games and stuff. Of course, I tried practicing pretty hard and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but like just trying to get away from like the like big tournament stress for a while. And I thought, I mean, I didn't feel like I was ever a good captain or I would be a good captain. I mean, maybe there was a small chance. I don't know. But I wanted to try and get some new faces and see if I can interact properly with them and maybe teach them something that I know, at least. Try to build my own thing. I always had like sort of kind of a try hard aspect on how to make a team good, and I didn't feel like I didn't see that in any team in Dota.
Mm.
Maybe, maybe like EG had a bit of that when they won TI. They're like, they're doing team stuff. They're like, I mean, it might sound ridiculous, but like they're going to eat together. They maybe work out together. They like have like team meetings and stuff about how to approach the game and stuff like that. And I mean, the funny thing is not all teams were like that. Honestly, like everyone was like, for example, C9. It was like a lot of people were kind of on their own. Like there wasn't much unity there. So.
So was it only the games that you played together, and pretty much everyone did their own thing afterwards?
Well, kind of. I mean, some people were staying together, but never five.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of get a better to shed some light on your kind of personal philosophy on like how a team should be. So it was born kind of out of you not seeing like you believe that you envision it in a certain way how a successful team should work, and you didn't see it, and then you guys didn't have success, and so you just wanted to find out if you build a team in that way, if it would lead to success.
Yeah, I want to do if it can be done. Um, I don't know. I think it can be done. Like my ideal way of a team, it might be able to done, but like you need a very good captain. You need someone who's very good at talking, someone who's like very good at playing at the same time, and like it's super hard. I feel like I never met anyone who would seem capable of doing that. And I mean, I know for sure I'm not capable of doing that right now, but I tried.
Can you talk about what exactly, because you seem to have a pretty clear picture about how what this guy needs to bring to the table, like the ideal captain.
I mean, well, he has to be very good at talking to people. He has to be charismatic. He has to instill respect without seeming arrogant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very difficult to envision someone like that, honestly. So I was just I don't know. Some like you have to be incredibly special. Honestly, you have to not be cancerous at all. And that is very hard. That is very hard when you lead a team.
When you play Dota
Uh,
2, you mean, right?
uh, yeah, Dota 2 is a weird game, but I think it's mostly because like I know it got to this weird point where like you can make a lot of money out of it,
Yeah.
but it still feels like a game, you know, in a sense that people don't take it seriously, fully seriously. Like it's not like you're gonna see a team that I don't know, everyone wakes up at the same hour. You know, they do their thing, they eat whatever, and then they just come on TeamSpeak and then they talk. You know, like they watch some replays together, they analyze, they like theory craft, they like you know, try to check out all the intricacies in the game, like and just spend the whole day together trying to get better as a team. You don't see that really. Like people are very, they're very spoiled, so they kind of just like the people who are good. Like I mean, for example, people who play in TI right now, it's everyone is a good player there, and everyone like. But what happens is there's a lot of personality issues.
Mm-hmm.
So teams like are tend to fail. Like Secret, for example. Secret have amazing players in that team. Like had like insanely good players in that team,
Mm-hmm.
and like somehow they got last place, and that's because you know you don't find the right combination, or I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do definitely get the impression that you are of a very analytical mind when you talk about these things, and that this is obviously a very important topic to you, and you put a lot of time into this. And I'm sure you watched TI closely, so I think one interesting thing to ask you would be, you know, if we look at a team like Wings or even DC, teams where you would not see players of a huge caliber of like Team Secret. So obviously there must be something different that led to this enormous success and just the way they gel together. And you know, can you share your thoughts about this? Have you asked yourself like why, and answer to yourself kind of why they were so successful?
Well, Wings are a legit good team. They're actually insanely good. I'm very impressed by them.
Mm-hmm.
They
Sorry,
like
one sec. Maybe, you know, just because I don't know the Chinese scene, maybe I just like made myself look like a real asshole. Maybe they are the most skilled players ever. But that was just the impression that the average Westerner would have. They would think, oh, they're not, you know, they're no puppy or whatever. That's what I meant. Okay.
I mean they're not known, but they did play for quite a while. Ice Ice played with Big Ad, if you remember.
That's
What
I
team that
don't actually remember,
was?
but I
That
had
team
read
was
that he was
it
very
was an
old,
all-star
old
team with
school.
Xiao 8 and RTK and Burning, and so basically he played like with like super smart Chinese players like
Hmm.
before.
But he wasn't
Uh,
like from their generation, right?
oh no, I don't think so. No, he's young, like he's like 19. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah, okay,
exactly
yeah.
how. Like the oldest player is like 25 or 24. I think they're mid player,
Mm-hmm.
Blink. Um, No, they're all quite recent. Like, but they are very good players. Like even individually,
Mm-hmm.
they're very good. Just besides just being a very good team as well.
Well, I mean, they talked about that they were just in a, at least like when I think back to the summit, which was the tournament that was like pretty much right before TI.
Yeah, where they
Um,
defeated OG.
yeah, and they said in an interview that they just it made it easy for them to stay in a competitive mind. So it just seemed like they were living in this mind state that they are gonna go to war together, and they were always in well, you know, as far as Dota goes, in kind of serious mode when it comes to that, and they were just always just what's the word I'm looking for? They were just you know, going hard together all the time.
Yeah, well, they're Chinese though. Chinese, like Asian people in general, I think they have more of they're not as spoiled as Europeans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're way more like team play oriented. Even it's not them. It's not like Wings thing. For example, when I used to play in Chinese tournaments and stuff, and I was playing pubs,
Mm-hmm.
like you'd see in these pubs who are not known at all, like not known players, they team plays like so much, and it's not even good most of the time, but they help each other so much. Like the level of team play is insane. So it's just like the whole mentality behind just Chinese people in general. They it's easier for them somehow it seems to just team play.
Okay. maybe for some of the viewers out there, why would you mentioned that for like the ideal captain, he would need to be charismatic without seeming arrogant. Why? Why is that important?
Well, you have to make people have faith in you. If that happens, like it's gonna be way easier for you to captain. Like, because you have this idea, and you have to be very good at explaining the idea, how it's gonna work. And if you can do this, if your team will see that okay, your idea is right, and it's also very good, like it's a bit, let's say, a bit different than what people generally do, and this is how you improve, blah blah blah. Yeah, like everything's gonna go smooth. But like if you take someone who's just smart and like awful at talking to people, like which I consider myself to be, it's like
Okay.
I have this good idea that I don't even fully understand myself. Then I try to relate to my team, and then it's a mess because we don't quite apply it properly. Because like I can't really like make that strategy be the same in everyone's minds
Okay.
as it is mine. In
Hmm.
my mind.
Is it so? I understand it in this way that okay, for one, the idea that you have in your mind is not communicated like 100% to your teammate. So there could be like up to five different versions of that one idea that you have, depending on how it goes. And do you think that that respect thing is also important to kind of prevent your other players to like think that's maybe they even understand the idea but they don't believe in it, they don't think it's the right idea, and then maybe they suggest something else, or and you kind of lose maybe time in making a different decision. Have you experienced stuff like that, or is that not really, does that not really happen?
Well, it depends. It depends who you play with, honestly. For example, if you take a really talented player who has played like, let's say, I don't know, 3, 4 days or something, most likely what's gonna happen is you're gonna have this idea, and they, depending on what they like their experience or how their personality works, they're not gonna be open to other ideas unless they think of it themselves most
Okay.
of the time. I feel like it's
Mm.
very weird how it works. It's very you can just put it back on like some ego issues, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is another thing.
Okay, I mean,
I
this
like.
is one thing that in during the international has been. I think it's coming up a bit now. I remember us talking about this in the past as well, but now it's coming up more and more. People are getting more coaches in. They're talking about communication coaches. They're joking about things like life coaches, but I think it's going to develop into that way one of these days. Um, but if we look at it from that perspective and apply it to like your last, let's say, kind of big team. I mean, you've played together with some really big names, and you have achieved a lot in the competitive scene. So let's go back to maybe like your last C9 roster, and maybe like during the international. What would you say were like, now looking back, kind of the biggest weaknesses of your guys' team, if you had to pick like one or two main ones that led to your guys' kind of demise, I would say.
Well, the team had a bad captain. It helped me. I was awful for that squad as well.
So just to be
And
so it was you. I'm looking here. Envy, Fata, Big Daddy, and Misery. Is that correct?
yeah, yep.
Okay,
And
good.
we fought on Hotel Misery and me. So
Mm-hmm. And you captained it.
yeah, it kind of like I kind of wanted to captain, but we were going like right. Envy was captaining it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The last tournament he captained it was BTS, and it was awful. Because like the way Envy captains is like he kind of tries to read what people think. If they're like, if they say something, back then at least, he tried to see if they actually believe it or they just say because they're afraid or whatever. And he couldn't do that anymore. Like with this team, like people are just saying things, and you couldn't really see if they mean it or like they're just scared or like. So he couldn't really captain the team anymore. So I
Could
was
you
like,
name an
okay,
example for people to get a better picture of like a typical example that comes to mind?
I can't think of very specific. I don't know how to. This is the problem. I don't know how to exactly express this idea. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Um, it's just like suggesting a strategy or a hero or whatever. And when you play this tournament game and you're drafting, and when you pick, you can't pick alone. Like as a captain, you have to like trust your teammates to tell you, okay, hey, this hero I'm gonna like do so well with this game. Just pick it for me. And like, well, when some players in this team said that before, like, with a different roster, we were like, okay, I trust you. But now it was like it was more. I don't know. The team was a bit more emotional. It was a bit less like, I don't know, logic based, I guess. After a while,
Mm-hmm.
so we couldn't quite figure out if this year is gonna work or not in the draft, because like the suggestions were not. They're more emotional rather than logical, to say
And where did that emotion
somewhat.
kind of come from? Was it that you didn't feel understood amongst each other, and would that lead to friction and then kind of just kind of little outbursts, or what kind of emotion are you referring to?
Well, it's a bit more like when a hero enters the meta, and you don't exactly know if he's strong or weak, but like some people see it, for example, win games. They can kind of explain it, kind of not, like 50%, and then people are like, oh no, you have to pick this hero. Like like the individual feels like this hero is very strong without really understanding it, like without looking at the big picture of the whole draft and stuff. And it was these kind of feelings, to say, I don't know.
So
It
is it
wasn't like for example, it's not like this year we practice a lot and then we realize, okay, in this scenario it's work like this, it work like this, it work like this. It wasn't based on like proper previous knowledge of what happened before with our team,
mm-hmm.
but rather just noticing in others. And then that's kind of like the way I see it, at least, that it happened.
Okay, and did you? I mean, if I remember correctly, it's a little while ago, but seen you guys were known to be like giving your fans heart attacks with the games.
I'm not exactly sure if it happened after the roster change, because after that we couldn't really win late game anymore. It was very awkward. We
Hmm.
kept throwing. Like there was this period in C9 where like we play, we lead, we throw, then we come back in a game, or then we have this game that we do very bad in, and then we come back. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of late game comebacks we had. We didn't have that at the end of C9 though. We just had that in previous versions. Like we had
Ah,
that
okay.
during TA4 and stuff, and during well, we had a lot. We had a lot of that with Fata after TA5.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of games where I remember this one game we played against LGD that we were like 30 kills behind or something. Like it was like 35-7 or some shit, and
Mm-hmm.
then we just keep winning these games.
Yeah, I just remember it was an insane time and very entertaining for a lot of people. And I
It
know
was
that
very
you
entertaining.
you at
Yeah.
least were on it, I guess.
Yep.
um, it's interesting because right now we have the roster shuffle going on, and it appears how like it seems like things are a lot more airtight than in previous years. Like you would know, like I'm so sure. I don't know if it's still happening right now, but at least the past 2 or 3 days, people were in like U-boat mode. Like you wouldn't hear a lot, but there would be war going on, and just you can rest assured that a lot of people were probably talking, and lots of options were thrown around. Um, how are you experiencing the the roster shuffle right now? And
I'm just a spectator mostly.
you're a spectator.
Yeah, I don't. Well, this is the thing when you leave the tier one scene, you're pretty much done unless you're a bit lucky at one point. So then you just like you just kind of hear stuff, and it's way easier for people to like mix up with players that they see playing right now. They're like, okay, I saw you play. Let's see how this goes. I kind of like you, and then people talk at TI like after every TI, basically in the lobby, even after, like, even during TI, before it ends, people are start talking to each other about like forming this new team or whatever. So like, I obviously wasn't part of that. I have
So it's
no idea. I just
important.
hear
Okay.
rumors, but I can't really say anything, you know.
Oh, that's crazy. So it's like since you stepped kind of down to try your own thing, you almost kind of exiled yourself from that very privileged core group.
You can say that.
Uh, and how? Okay. And what are your what are your personal aspirations now? Because you said earlier that you had this project, you wanted to try it out, and you think it just you didn't achieve what you hoped for. You probably learned a shitload though. Um, what's next for you?
Well, it's still KP for now, for sure. Um, at the beginning of KP, it was like a real, like a kind of a real experiment,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense that I tried like new players, and now it came to the point where I play with players who are like way more like they're all in the scene. I mean, like Sing and Bamboo. They're very like, I mean, they go way back, way back. And then we have the two new recruits, which are pretty decent as well. They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the Coon and and MDL, they're pretty good.
Okay. How long
But
have they been with you?
well, I played with them. Well, I played with Sing for like, I think 6 months now or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Bamboo is like, I think maybe 4 months, and the other two are like 1 month and like 2 weeks each.
Okay, so you do have Kaipi there, but like the way I hear it is, I'm sure if people were to see you as like an open agent, and they would, I mean, if anybody hears this, probably just give Bone7 a shout out and hit him up, see what he's up to. But just staying with Kaipi, the core issue about missing this charismatic core figure, that one would still be in there. Do you feel like you can fix that issue within the existing roster, or are you going to try to like import
Well, I'm still
someone?
a captain here because well, everyone else kind of awful at it. I'm
Yeah.
just a bit less awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, this is definitely an issue. Like, for a good team, you need a good captain as well.
Can you get
And
that charisma and that belief in a captain once it's kind of not there or
well,
shaken? Can you get it
it's one
back?
of two things, I think. It's either you have a squad of 5 players who just probably don't need a captain, but they just gel well together, and then they like each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good enough. You probably don't need a captain, but that's extremely rare. And then you have the situation where you have a good captain. Like, for example, I think Papi's a good captain, and he played with players. I don't think the atmosphere in like some things Papi played was that good, but he made it work for a while at least. I think PPD is the same. I think he's a very good captain, and probably not everything is like perfect, but he's a good captain, so he makes things work. But there's only, I mean, honestly, there's only a few cases of each scenario, but
So
you
okay,
know.
and wings would be the former scenario that you talked about. They would just gel well together. You think? The
I have
five.
no idea how but they
Okay.
definitely gel. They definitely gel well together as 5 players. Definitely, they look like a good team. But I don't know exactly if their captain is also very good. Like, they might
Mm.
have both, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's insane. Insane enough to win a TI almost. Um, you played one thing that I'm interested in too is since you played with Misery, and he did extremely well at TI this year. What were your thoughts on that?
I think Misery evolved a lot since the C9 days. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
um, he he has a very, like, for example, he's not very smart at the game, but he's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a basic smart. How to say? Um, for example, let's say DC plays against anti-major alchemists. What do? Like, their whole game plan is revolve around making sure early game they get crushed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they just win those games because Misery understands. You see an anti-mage, you go aggressive. You see an alchemist, you roam on him and try to get his jungle stacks. It's so easy. People don't do this apparently, but he's smart about a lot of things in Dota. Like, if he would, like, he's good enough to even win a TI. Like, he's smart enough to win a TI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a good player. I always thought he's a good player, but obviously in C9 it didn't work out because it was very difficult, like to gel well the whole five of us.
Yeah, I mean, so was it back then also already? Could you see it a bit coming? Was Misery in kind of in the mix of also trying to make calls in game as well, or was he back then just playing his
No, he
role?
wasn't. He really should though. Like my biggest problem with Misery in that team was that he's smart. He understands what needs to be done, like to do fine in a game. But he didn't say it back then at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I think right now since he's captaining, he's saying it. So that probably helps that team a lot. Like if I would say what's the main reason DC got second place in TDI is definitely Misery.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't see like he's definitely the reason why they got so far.
Awesome. What are your thoughts? I want to rotate through to the next one, and that's would be No Tail or Big Daddy back in the day. Now he's I think back to No Tail. How what's the difference, when you think back to when you played with him and how you perceived him when he plays on OG?
Notel is a very good player. He's a very good teammate as well, generally. Uh, Overall, I don't know. Overall, he's good at everything. But what happens is with him is that he gets a bit like it's very important to him that morale is high. So if obviously this applies to most people, but if the team doesn't feel well, if the team is not positive and stuff, he's gonna like how people are a bit sad when things don't work out. He's like extra sad when those things don't work
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're getting at. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely very good. Like probably in C9, probably the best teammate.
Oh
He
wow.
has to have
Okay.
been the best teammate in that C9. I mean, Envy was my kind of like guy.
Mm-hmm.
I It's like we both could like I don't know get mad or like get depressed whatever and still play our best. But but like as a normal teammate, like as a normal human being, Hotel was definitely the best teammate there
Mm-hmm.
in that team, and like everyone else was kind of not that good.
Okay. And you think that that positive impression was probably because was it because his need to have like a positive vibe in the team kind of did it because it is like a sign of having a good heart or something, and that's why you remember him as being a great teammate, or
Well, I don't put it to feelings. Rather, just like I try to see it objectively. I don't because I talked with the coach that we had back then about it as well, and like he had the same opinion about like Notel definitely being like the good teammate you want to make a team with, for example.
mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Like it's
uh
easy.
mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, I can see where that's coming from. He really does make the impression to be just a guy that functions well in a team. You can just kind of stick him into his place, and then he fulfills his role, and he doesn't disrupt, and he doesn't it's I can totally understand where that's coming from. How do you remember Fata?
Fata, I think the Fata is interesting.
Yeah, I mean
Fat,
he's German, and I met him in 2012 on Gamescom, so I know him very well.
do
And I
you?
know what what. Let me know, dude. What do you think?
Fata is pretty intense. I think at one point during TA, I mean during the TA4 TA5 era, and during TA5 TA6, he was the best mid player.
Hmm.
Like I think when we got him in C9, he was the best mid player at that time. Like he was insanely good. He was
Yeah, sick. I
so good.
remember that. Yeah, sick.
Um, and then the meta changed, and the meta was like completely against what the way he plays, and he tried to adapt, so it didn't work out for him anymore. And then with Liquid again, like you can see, like Fata again, I think he was the best mid player again for a while, until like TA was coming close, and then I don't know, things didn't work out that well for them, I guess.
Hmm. Okay, so amazing mid player, and
He's incre- he's super talented. He's insane in some departments, and he lacks some basic things. Like you're gonna see him do some random things on the map at one like sometimes, I mean he's a very good player that shines a lot.
how was the like interpersonal relationship? Like, if you see him running around on the map randomly, did you think you were in a relationship with him where you could say, "Yo, buddy, please don't do that," or would it be just something where you're like, "Ah, shit"?
Well, you kind of have to say, hey, stay here, don't go there, whatever.
Hmm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know,
Okay, so sometimes he would listen, and maybe sometimes he would just not, or
something like that,
okay.
something like that.
All right, all right. Mr. Jackie Mao.
Envy. He's interesting. Well, he's definitely the most interesting um, player of the bunch. Um, he's um, he's very smart at like he's smarter than anyone else at some things. What I noticed, there are some situations where you play this game and you think that there's no way we win this game, or like there's no way there's a winning like play here,
Mm-hmm.
and like he keeps finding these plays. It's very weird.
You know what would be
He has
really
this weird gift.
amazing if you had, take your time if you want to. Is there anything that comes to mind where he made a call or like described to you guys a plan and then it actually worked out? Anything you remember that he called and you were like, "Holy fuck, Envy, well played."
Well, I can remember one game that we lost eventually, but he made some like he played incredibly well and he almost turned a game back.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this game where we played against LGD and he was playing anti-mage
I'm
and
gonna okay.
he somehow managed to, he got a rapier on the anti-mage and he somehow got us a side of Raxes while like we could keep them at bay while, when we were defending the base. Like it might sound simple and stuff, but like in those games, in that moment, you don't like you're being crushed. You don't see what's happening. You don't exactly see how you're gonna win, and then this move happens, and somehow you're winning the game.
But what I hear extremely often is that people say, Envy is a great player, and Envy knows so much about late game decision making. It's insane. Like the most experienced players would say that they learn a lot from when he had a short stint. I want to say it was EG. He played like maybe a few games for some reason, but I may it was some big team, and then I asked him or PPD about who learned more from that short stint, and the answer was both, and that Eternal Envy taught them a lot about late game decision making. Would you like? Do you remember him that way as well, or?
I have no idea, but I think what happens is the way he's good at those things. I don't think people learn it from him. I don't think he can teach it. It's very particular, like how it happens. I don't think he taught anyone
Okay,
to
because the
to have his understanding.
okay, because one more thing that was said was that Envy could when it's late game he could just tell people farm here, farm there, just to keep things safe and such. That he just has a lot of experience. But all right, um, okay, so we went through your last squad. Do you still keep in touch with your boys? How are things between you all? Do you talk
I
or not at
sometimes
all?
talk with my ex-teammates. Yeah, I mean we're okay.
Mm-hmm. Is there like, and obviously
It's
they're really busy and you don't have a lot of time to spend with them, but the relationships are fine.
They're okay. They're fine. I mean, it's very like it's stupid to like eh, you can't dislike a player over time. It makes like it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
So like you always keep in touch with almost everyone actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like everyone is sort of friends with each other. It's nothing like it's rare I think that I don't know, people play in a team, they don't play anymore, and then they're like, okay, I'm done with you forever. Like I don't think it happens that often.
Okay. Do you if you could give like advice to teams right now? I mean, the shuffle is happening right now, and this is a time where
I
not
should not be someone to listen to for
no.
sure.
Oh, okay. I think
No,
you make a lot. I think especially the stuff about what a captain needs to bring makes a lot of sense. I mean, I have no idea myself, but it sounds legit. I think it's correct.
I
Like, what
I
would you
guess.
give? Like, what would be advice that you give your own C9 squad? Like before you disband, and you could go back to yourself and like tell yourself like a few tips, before you go into TI5.
I don't know if I can give myself those tips. Maybe in a few years I would understand what I need to do, but right now I don't exactly. I mean, kind of what needs to be done, but it's very hard to say how it needs to be done. That's the most important thing. Because if you don't know how, like, I mean, you know the basics, you know what has to happen, but how do you make it happen? That's still something I didn't figure out.
Okay. So it's not like you have any major big regrets where you can say, oh, if we hadn't done this or if we didn't fight
Oh, I
so
can't have
much.
regrets. I can't. I mean, I mess up, but I have to like try to look from the perspective that I had back then, and like, okay, this was kind of the reasonable decision. And sometimes you get emotional and you make bad decisions, but most of the time there are like decisions you make based on your current like knowledge, and like you can't have regrets on something like you didn't have no knowledge on. Now you know, but then you didn't. Like, what's the point of having regrets? Doesn't make much sense.
Oh, that's. But I mean, that's a total mature perspective. I don't think a lot of people have that. You know, I don't
It's
think.
pretty basic, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, okay. The is there any other things when you think about the shuffle? Anything that you wanna like touch upon? Anything you think is
I think this
important?
shuffle might be the most interesting yet, actually.
Have you,
And
like you said, you're just a spectator, you know, but anything that, you know, let's say, do you think OG is gonna stick? Like, what are like your
I'm not gonna
theories in
make
terms of?
comments on any teams, but I think it's gonna be very interesting to see because I'm very curious myself, not about who plays with who, because like that's kind of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really interesting to see how they will work together because I think there's gonna be some teams like you might see some new all-star teams, and it's gonna be very interesting to see if they work.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they won't, but I don't know. Maybe I'm I'm wrong generally. So about these things, about like who's gonna work with who. I didn't like, for example, I didn't think at all like Secret would be a good team. Like
Mm-hmm.
after T5 ended, I was like, this combo does not look that good. But you see it again. You have Secret during those two majors, and then Secret after those,
Mm-hmm.
and you can easily say we kicked Misery and we have for Artisan Universe. Like, okay, for sure, this team is looking incredibly scary, and they're way better now, right? That's what people would
Yeah,
say,
yeah. It's like, holy
and then
shit,
they're
they've got
not.
universe now. It's
I mean,
insane.
that team looked so insane, honestly.
It did.
Like, Universe, you can argue he was the best offlaner. Artizi is, I mean, I would
Just the
say
best.
he's the best. I would say he's the best carry. I don't see him, uh, like he doesn't play this mid. How to say it? It's not like okay. The patches change and stuff, and okay, mid farms a bit more now, but it's still you still have to have a well balanced like approach towards how you move on the map and how you distribute farm on the map. And he's a carry, like just and then you have Puppy. He's a very good captain. Paladai, who showed to be an amazing support, and Envy, who definitely carried the shit out of that team when they won.
I
uh,
think when you talk about Arteezy, could you dumb it down a bit for because you know, you said he's a carry. What do you mean? Do you mean he takes too much gold from the map, or like?
but he definitely thinks about. I can't really talk for him, and I'm not good at carry, so it's hard to make a judgment.
Oh, just one
But
thing,
like
quickly. I
the
think
simple.
it needs to be. I think it needs to be said because that's important for me. Also for like all future things, because I hope that there's like some like pros from the scene also listening to this, because I know that a lot of people respect your opinion as well. And I think one thing that needs to be important is that when I ask these questions, that people realize, you know, that it's you know, it's your, you know, your personal judgment, and not meant in kind of, you know, you know better than him, but just like your personal understanding. You look at this and you see it as such. So I think I hope people like they don't take any offense in you speaking relatively freely, because I would like you to just say freely, you know, what you think you mean by that.
Oh, I don't care about people getting mad or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out if I actually what I say is kind of right.
Okay.
No, I can't really. When he played carry in Secret, he looked super strong. When he played mid in EG, when Fear was playing carry, to say like kind of,
Okay.
but you watch him. He played Razor, he played Lycan, he played I don't know DP, and then you see Fear play this Tide Hunter or like whatever safe lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like EG worked out very well, and like okay, Fear is playing the carry, but honestly, Artis is playing the carry, and then the same when he went back to EG to play with Smile. Smile was no Fear on the second position. It was like they're both kind of trying to get resources when they're supposed to secure like getting those resources on one hero and maybe
Mm-hmm.
controlling the map in one position, and then you have this secret after the shuffle with Artesian Envy, and you see that okay, maybe it sounds retarded, like it's too simple to say, but they're kind of both trying to farm, and instead they're not trying to adjust um, to to make the whole team stronger. They're like trying to like they're trying to do the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's and then you have Universe who is super good at this kind of play where he sits back and like he's very conservative. He plays the lane. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't risk. He doesn't go for like space making plays. He's just like not giving the opponents too many resources. He's not getting that much. Then he's taking space, and then at the right time he's going to react like pretty much perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the difference between like Misery and Universe in Secret.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Misery die a lot on the offlane, like a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then but it's his instinct of playing because he's good at understanding what his team needs. Misery knows what his team needs. Like he knows he's gonna need to die for his team to have some space to do something. Universe might know that, but he doesn't. Like it's not in his instinct, so he just like stays there, farms, and then like he's mechanically good. He understands when he needs to initiate, how to react, and like and that's definitely not what Secret needed. Like you just have it's a bad combination, I guess.
And these things, Bone7, are so fucking valuable. You know, these insights. I mean, when you talk
Well, I'm
about
not
this,
making like I'm not making my sense in my head either. I don't know. Like I'm trying. It's very hard to like try to. I would have to like write it down and then trying to like figure out how to say it right and like just like I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
well, I hope it comes across. Like to me, it definitely did. Especially like when you said that the mid and the carry, they're supposed to kind of play like toward each other, help each other out to the greater goal. Like make space for the carry, but they're both like kind of grabbing resources and not. It really makes a lot of sense. And
I can
um,
give an example like specifically
oh yeah, please.
like when Secret played LGD in the elimination game right there. Like you see this
So TI
interesting draft
six
by yeah
secret LGD.
TA6.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the game where they had the Alchemist and Turbo together?
No, but you can. I'm gonna bring it up, and you can keep explaining, and maybe I can find something.
Well, they picked Alchemist and Turbo together. That's that's kind of weird because like they both. I mean, Turbo, if you understand the hero Turbo really well, you understand that he's not a hero who really needs a lot of farm to like be very very strong on the map. You just get these threads, these Dragonlance. You might not even need the Dragonlance. You might just need the threads and the busters, and you might just go fight because
Yeah.
you have the meta and the illusions.
Yeah.
So you can actually you know fight and stuff. But what happens is the secret team, their goal at the beginning is to stack for their carries. Then instead of like for example this alchemist thinking, hey, I have a turtle blade, I have enough damage to win a team fight now. Instead of him saying, okay, I don't need to farm, I just need to make like a stable item build for right now so we can win this one team fight that's gonna secure us late game because we have Shadow Demon, Turtle and Alchemist. I mean, hello, like it's so much damage, so much tank. It's like insane split which you can't deal with this. Instead of him trying to be like, okay, I'm just gonna have this build where like I don't know, I have more acid spray, like less grievous grid. Maybe I have a treads on a PMS instead of like trying to rush armlet radiance. Maybe I just try to make sure that I keep the game stable the first 12 minutes because after that, if we didn't get crushed in that time, we're gonna win the game. Like we have so much damage. We have so much damage. We just have to have enough HP, and we have to just be in the right positions on the map to fight at the right time. And like it doesn't even have to be smart. You don't even have to predict the movement of the opponent. Like the way the heroes work, like they
Just
deal
quickly,
damage.
one for the listeners, just quickly let the drafts be known. So it's for Secret it was Shadow Demon. For Pylai Die, Arteezy was playing Alchemist, Envy was playing the Terrible that you were talking about, Baba Beastmaster, and Vengeful Spirit by Puppy, and they were playing against LGD, Mirana, Kunkka, Juggernaut, Ember Spirit, Winter Wyvern. So you might need to jot that down, but now you have a picture of kind of how the game, how the matchup is. But Shadow Demon, Alchemist, Terrorblade, they have the vision from the Beastmaster and Vengeful Spirit. So there's that.
I would say Secret outpicked LGD so hard that game, so hard, but they didn't really. you see, if you analyze the game, you see they don't have a game plan, or at least they don't have the right game plan. They don't understand exactly. Because I'm thinking, when you finish a draft, instantly after, before, like, even before you pick the last hero, you have to start talking there. Okay, how are we gonna win this game, or at least how are we gonna like do in early game? Like, how do we make this game stable? Do I understand? Are we winning late game? How, like, when do we win this game?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do this right, they understand. Okay, they have Juggernaut and Ember Spirit. Those heroes do not deal damage when they're level 6 to 7 to 8, 9, whatever. They need farm. They need a lot of farm. So the only way they're going to win early game is they outplay with some rotations. They need some good Kunkka, Winter, Jugger, Ember rotations. They need to outnumber you. They need to not be ready to have low mana or whatever. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't happen. Like, for some reason, at one point, Secret decides to run around trying to finish some stacks instead of just trying to like um, pressure a tower at the right moment with like a few heroes. And I mean, you just see their game plan is like, okay, let's stack in a farm. At the weakest time of LGD, like, they have Winter with Kunkka. Those heroes are not strong without ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
And they choose to take stacks in that time.
Mm-hmm.
And in this meanwhile, like, they lose all map control.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, this is too complicated. My point is, they had Alchemist and Terrorblade, and instead of them thinking, hey, how do we make sure one of our heroes, either Alchemist or Terrorblade, gets a good game right now?
Yeah.
They were thinking, I want to have a good game, like both Terrorblade and Alchemist, like in terms of farm or whatever. So instead of thinking, how do I win the game, it's like, how do I have a good game, rather. I think this is the most basic thing I can explain. I think if you watch the replay, this is going to be the impression. It's like, instead of looking, how do we win this game as a team? And okay, people are going to say, okay, maybe you had some issues, some communication issues. Maybe it wasn't a good, period of the team. But like, at the end of the day, you might hate your teammates. You might not feel good playing in that team. And like, I'm super guilty of this. I was incredibly awful at this at one point. But at one point, you have to even be selfish, actually, to be like, okay, I don't care if I hate you. I want to win this game, and I want to understand how. And I need you to understand how we win this game. Or like, and if you don't believe that I'm right, we're gonna do what you think is right, and then we need to come to a consensus. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's right. We just have to do one thing that we all believe, or like accept that we believe, even though if you don't really believe, So it's like goes towards one direction instead of like this random 3 or 4 directions.
Yeah, perfect. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's the one thing that you heard it here, guys. I mean, if you need to do it together, do it as five, not have different kind of game plans running parallel to each other. I mean, I'm definitely going to have a look at this replay, and I mean, these analysis tidbits are super valuable, and I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners love it as well, and I hope you guys are going to check it out as well. And what I think is especially interesting is just that. I mean, I remember back, I think it was ESWC 2011. That was way back. I think Puppy was still playing on Navi back then, but I'm not quite sure. And in an interview, he said, the question was, how do I get good in Dota? And then he said, form a team and then play like one. And I had to think of that when you just talked about, saying, this is my idea.
That sounds easy. That's incredibly hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm really thankful to to have had you here, that you took the time. Is there anything that you still want to get out there?
It's not really.
Shuffle,
I guess
TI6, your team.
Just thanks for the interview, and I don't know, like, shout out to all the fans of Dota.
Yeah, man.
Like, it's really important that like people watch Dota and like they support, whereas like doesn't like nothing works without this.
Yeah, I want to finish up with one thing, and that's questions. Give people the opportunity to do like PSAs. Is there, when you play pubs, you probably still play pubs once in a while. What happens? Is there anything that you see recurring more often that pisses you the fuck off? That you want people to, anything that what grinds your gears right now in pubs?
Actually, I don't mind the pubs right now. The way I see it is like they're way better than a while back. I mean, you just get these games that the people. I mean, it's simple. Like, if 90% of games you talk with your like team and like try to win the game together, you're gonna win. And the games where people are like, oh no, fuck you, I don't want to listen to you, like those games you lost. So I don't. They're way better now, though. I don't think there's anything that happens in pubs that like pisses me off. Like I play a lot of pubs nowadays, and like I enjoy
What?
60% of it.
You live a
Sixty
blessed
percent.
life, dude. I mean, my in my memoir, when I play pubs, as soon as anyone dies, he starts blaming someone else on the team, and then they start arguing, and then we start losing slowly but surely because people are spending more time typing on the keyboard than playing the game.
I mean, also I don't know. Like sometimes if not in a good mood, I just mute everyone in the game, like the teammates and the opponents. I just mute them and I just try to focus on my own thing. I don't want to get into those discussions with like, hey, you're bad. No, you're bad. No, you're bad. Whoa. Well,
Yeah, see, that's a good
this is not
point.
going anywhere.
Awesome. Oh, Bone7, listen, I wish you the best of success in like kind of whatever endeavor you choose to pursue. I loved watching your games when you were a lot more in the spotlight, and I hope that I will see you there again in the near future. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm gonna say peace out for now, man. Bye bye.
Right, thanks.
All right, guys. So that was Bone7, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this interview. And if you do want to hear more, like one thing I did want to get out there very quickly is if any of you guys want to discuss some of the points raised, or even like, I don't know, if Bulba is listening, for example, and he wants to talk about the game that was just addressed, just as an example, I would totally be down. Just tweet at me and give feedback, because I would love some of these storylines to develop a bit more. With that being said, guys, it would be a big help if you could follow me on Twitter at epidota2, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much to David and David for letting me upload these interviews on here, and I will work hard to get more of these coming your way in the next weeks. Since the shuffle is still going on, I did get a lot of confirmations for further interviews, but only until after everything has settled. So it's still going apparently in full swing. So maybe over the course of the next couple of days, latest probably next week, we will have the next one. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll hear from you all soon, or you hear me soon. Peace out.